All right, I've got two things for you guys to pick up. Got a AP exam advice and tips and information, which I'll go over. And then also the packet that we're going to be working on next week. So I know that you guys will be in and out all of next week because first week of AP exams. But we'll just be spending those days going over the most recent FRQs. I encourage you guys to keep up with the FRQs. So each day I'll try to get through 2 or 3 FRQs, and I'll pick the ones that are most challenging to work through in class and save the ones that are more familiar, hopefully for you guys to work on at night. And but you know, if we fall behind, we'll just try to pick up where we left off from the day before. The solutions are on the website. I have all the key attached next to all those dates, and I will record videos each day as well. So if you're stuck and you weren't able to come to class, you can always watch the video and hopefully catch up. So I really think it's nice to have. I know that a lot of you guys may not be here every day next week, but it's nice to have that additional week that our exam is on the second week, just to kind of get, you know, some more of these FRQs under our belt so that we can just feel more comfortable with the variety of problems that they could be asking. Okay, so we'll be working on that next week. I'm going to be checking homework every day. Well, on Monday, I'll be checking pages 13 through 22 from your previous packet. So hopefully, like a lot of you guys should have already, you know, done a lot of it if you did the worksheet for the morning review and preparing for these multiple choice tests. So hopefully you won't have much to do to get ready for me to check on Monday. But then on Tuesday, I'll be checking FRQs each day. However, I won't be taking any penalty points off if you don't have it the day that I show you. So if you don't show them to me until next week, after the AP exam, that's fine. I'll give you full credit. But ideally, you guys are taking advantage, you know, if possible, if your schedule allows it, to do all these 5 years worth of FRQs next week. I think that'll be really beneficial leading up to the AP exam, which is Monday the 9th. Okay. All right, so and they will go in, these 5 FRQs will go in as a quiz grade, 25-point quiz grade. Okay. All right, let me go over exam details and see if you guys have any questions. Okay, so your AP exam, Monday the 9th, in the main gym. You'll report there at 8 a.m. and then start shortly after that. The exam is approximately 3 hours and 15 minutes long, and it will be split into 2 parts. You're going to start with the multiple choice portion, and then you'll have a break, and then you'll come back, go back, and you'll do the free response portion. Each section is worth 50% of your final AP exam grade. Okay, so first part, multiple choice, 45 questions. Okay, 1 hour and 45 minutes. Okay, part A, 30 questions, 60 minutes. Okay, so think about this for a moment here. Okay, 2 minutes per problem. That's not a lot of time. Remember the quiz that you guys just took? I gave you 30 minutes, 8 questions. All right, so 60 minutes, I gave you 16 questions over the 2-day period. Now I got to do double that. Okay, which is, you know, you've got to move fast, basically. Now I was asking for work, so that definitely probably slows you down. But still, 2 minutes per problem. We got to be very aware of our time. As you're taking the exam, there will be a screen at the front of the gym where there's a countdown timer, so you can always look up and just kind of keep pace with where you are. Okay. I am going to give you the 2012 and 2014 full multiple choice test. It's also up on my spring review page, in addition to 3 more AP exams. So if you have time on the weekend, you know, if you want to just time yourself, through one of the 60-minute portion, the non-calculator portion, and see how you do in a 60-minute time frame. Are you able to work at a pace where you can get through all the problems? Now, you may not be able to do every problem, but you don't want to spend more than, if you're stuck on a problem, don't spend more than a minute on it, because you can always come back to it, and if worst comes to worst, you can always guess, because there's no penalty for guessing. Okay, anyways, after 60 minutes, they will take the packet away, because they're giving you a second packet, and that packet will be the part B multiple choice, 45 minutes with the graphing calculator. And here you're given 3 minutes per problem. But typically what happens is students have not enough time for the first part and too much time for the second part. But either way, if you finish the second part, you can't go back to the first part, because they've already collected that first portion. Okay, so if there's going to be a crunch for a rush for time, it's going to be with that part A. Okay, so total scores on multiple choice are based on the number of questions answered correctly. Points are not deducted for incorrect answers, and no points are awarded for unanswered questions. So make sure you answer every question, basically, even if you didn't get to it, that you want to answer every question. Okay, so then after the 2 multiple choice portions, you will have a break, and 10 minutes later, they will call you back, and you'll do the free response portion. So free response portion, 6 questions, 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that's average of 15 minutes per problem. So they'll give you a packet, okay? In the packet, they'll ask you to break the seal. The seal will just allow you to see the first 2 problems, okay? So part A, 2 problems, 30 minutes. You'll be allowed to use the graphing calculator. 36 Pro is technically not on the College Board's approved list, so you're taking your chances if you bring that. We don't know what just depends on what the proctor is goes on that day. I don't have any graphing calculators, so see if you can borrow from. If you don't have one, take your chances with 36 Pro, or borrow from someone who's taking stats or pre-calculus who's not in calculus. You can borrow one of their calculators, hopefully. Okay, so you're going to work through the first 2 problems, 30 minutes, and then after that, after 30 minutes is called, you'll be asked to put your calculator away. Okay, you'll put your calculator away, and then you'll break the seal for the part B. So part B, 4 problems. You'll have an hour to work on numbers 3 through 6. However, I want to make sure that everybody understands this. Even though you don't have a calculator in front of you, you can still go back and work on numbers 1 and 2. It's just that you don't have the calculator anymore. So, so what you want to do if you run out of time for 1 and 2 is try to do the parts that have calculator portion, because not every part for numbers 1 and 2 will require a calculator. So just try to get the calculator calculations out of the way, so that if you run out of time, you can always go back in the next hour to work on numbers 1 and 2. It's just you don't have a calculator anymore. Okay, free response section, test your ability to solve problems using an extended chain of reasoning. During the second time portion, you are permitted to continue work on parts A, but no more calculator during the after the first 30 minutes. Okay, so here's how scoring works. You'll have multiple choice and free response. They're both 50% of your exam score. It's out of 108 points. Multiple choice is 54 points. And then free response is also 54 points. Okay, so free response, you have 6 free response questions. Each question is worth 9 points. And then, but then within each FRQ, the 9 points is distributed arbitrarily. So a lot of times you'll have either 3 or 4 sections per FRQ, and each section is 2 to 4 points. Just depends on how they allocate it. So usually, and then also they kind of organize it from simple to more involved as you go down to part C and D. Multiple choice, also 54 points. However, there's only 45 questions, right? And so the way that they resolve that is they'll take however many answers you got correct, multiply it by 1.2, and that will make it out of 54 points. That will make it even between multiple choice and free response. Okay, so out of 108 points, So this is a range of score from years past. It's not always the case here, but this is just from one certain year. If you score in the 60% range, that's good enough for a 5. If you score in the 50% range, that's good enough for a 4 on the AP exam. If you score 38% or higher, this is just 1 year, but that's kind of gives you an idea. That's enough for a 3, and then below that, a 2 and a 1. Okay, so just to kind of give you some idea that, you know, it's a pretty generous curve, but at the same time, these problems are not easy either. And so, you know, if you can get 60% on the AP exam, on the calculus exam, you know, you're still showing that you have a very strong understanding of topics. And if you get half right, that's still very, very good. Okay, so, all right, a couple of reminders here. Bring non-mechanical number 2 pencils for multiple choice section. But on the free response question, you're free to use pen if you like. Okay, you can use a black or blue ink pen. Yeah, don't do any other color pens. You either do black or blue. The nice thing about pens is that it shows up better, and so it's easier for the graders to read them. So, but that's just a suggestion. If you feel comfortable, more comfortable with pencil, then perfect. You do pencil instead. But if you're using black or blue ink, if you make a mistake, okay, just do a simple cross out and then just continue moving forward. You'll have a ton of space to do a lot of your problems. So, yeah, you shouldn't have an issue running out of space. Okay. FRQs, careful with something called linkage errors. Linkage error is where I think a lot of times I don't really pay attention to it in terms of my grading your test. If I see equal sign, I'm not looking, you know, I'm not looking in detail. Oh, is what you have on either side of the equal sign exactly equivalent? Because if they're not, then on the AP exam, they will take off a point for that. So for instance, here's an example. Let's say you're trying to go through average value theorem and you're going through the problem and you realize your A and B is 0 and 5. So you do the integral first and you got 30, and then you realize, oh, wait, I need to worry about the 1/5 in front. So then you bring in the 1/5 in front, and then you get to the answer equal to 6. So the answer is correct, but on the AP exam, the grader is supposed to look at this and say, wait, this is not the same thing. 30 is not the same thing as 30/5. 30 is not equal to 6, and they'll take off a point here. They call this a linkage error. So it's really, really nitpicky, and it, you know, like a lot of graders don't agree with that, but they have to follow, you know, they need to be consistent amongst all the graders. So the way around it is just don't even, you know, if you don't even play with equal sign, just do arrows instead. If they see arrows, then they'll interpret the arrow as, oh, you're just going to the next step. You're not saying they're equal. You're just telling the grader this is where to look next, you know, as the progression of steps. So yeah, try to avoid equal sign if you can. That way you don't get all these nitpicky points taken out of your FRQ score. Okay, so again, linkage error is a solution presented using equal signs to connect expressions that are not equal. And this is especially a problem on L'Hopital's rule. L'Hopital's rule, we tend to do that, right? Derivative, U prime, we did numerator's derivative or denominator's derivative. So this is linkage error occurs a lot on L'Hopital's rule on student exams. So just use arrows and you'll be safe. Okay, a couple of tips and advice. Answer every question, no penalty for wrong answer. Eliminate wrong choices, then make your best guess. If you arrive at your solution without using derivative, slope, integral, or area finding formula, then reconsider your approach to the problem, right? So these exam writers are writing these tests with your calculus learning in mind, right? So they're restricted to what we've learned over you know, these past 9 months. You won't see a problem that that is completely outside the realm of what we're doing. But however, if you're arriving at your answer that doesn't use a derivative method, that means something is not quite right. They're not going to throw a curveball that's completely outside of what we learned. So This is kind of like an oversimplification of a rule of thumb, but I read this somewhere. It says, when in doubt, take the derivative. Okay, it's not always true, but I think it is kind of helpful to have that mindset, because if you're stuck on the problem, there's some calculus method involved somewhere. So sometimes taking the derivative can kind of jumpstart, oh, wait, maybe, okay, I see where this is headed towards. It's not always true for every case, but the majority of the problem, there is some derivative portion to it. Sometimes it's helpful to sketch a graph just to kind of visualize what's going on. Or maybe you want to categorize the problem, right? Is it a related rates problem? Is it something that involves solving differential equations, right? Okay, some multiple choice can be answered working backwards. I would say if you're rushed for time, especially on that non-calculator portion, seek out the easier, quicker problems to do first, right? If you see a problem that, definitely read every problem. But if you read a problem and you're like, oh, this looks like it's going to take me like 5 minutes to do, maybe it's to your best interest to circle it, make some side notes, and then continue moving forward, right? These questions are not ordered from easy to difficult, and they're not ordered by categories. It's not limits first, and you're going to end up with area volume at the end. So sometimes you may have an easy problem that's waiting for you at the very end of the test, and you don't want to be working on number 3 and spending all that time there, and then missing out on the easier problems that you could have gotten right. So just make sure that you're never spending a ton of time on any problem. If something's taking too long, then circle it and come back to it, right? You want to make sure that you at least read every problem on the test. Yeah, keep track of your time. Okay, couple of, let's see, just notations down here. dy dx means derivative, first derivative, d2y over dx2. This means second derivative. This doesn't mean find the derivative and square it. Okay, this is just a notation for second derivative. Always in radian mode. I hate to see students be in a degree mode and then mess up all their answers with a trig problem in their FRQ. So always be in radian mode. Yeah, don't erase. Include units with your answer, but you only have to worry about it if the problem asks for it. If the problem doesn't ask for units of measure, then they can't take off points. Numerical approximation, 3 decimal places. We talked about this over the course of the year. There's no need to simplify your answers. So if something's in slope intercept form, point slope form, it's just as good as slope intercept form. So I always tell students, leave it in point slope form, because they don't accept it. It doesn't look as clean as slope intercept form, but it saves you time. You can, why spend an extra 2 minutes when you already have the answer, and then you're also introducing potential mistakes working on the right answer. Okay. Show your work. Watch for phrases such as justify your answer, show your analysis, explain your reasoning. They want to see you use your words to get full credit. Oh yeah, and it used to be where you can just draw a sign line and that's justification. But now justification, you have to say a relative max at 2 because f prime changes from positive to negative. You have to use because statements. Okay, and careful when you use the word it. If you use the word it, graders aren't going to like it because they don't know what you're referring to. Are you talking about the function? Are you talking about the derivative? So try to be as specific as possible. If you say the word it is increasing, that is not going to give you credit. They want to know what you're talking about, right? So try to avoid the word it. Be specific when you're referencing a function or a derivative. Okay. Okay, so I'll be checking homework on Monday, 13 through 22. I'll send out a reminder on Sunday, and then Monday we'll start working on our FRQs. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.